All right, it's time to get back on the Mercury Comet. We're doing some sheet metal work. But first, I want to have a quick talk with you, a little fireside chat about something serious. We want to make sure that you don't have on a pair of these when you go look at your project. Let's get into it. Alright, so last week I started doing some sheet metal work. I started cutting off and getting ready to do some sheet metal replacement on this car. And I think it's the first time that I realized just how rusty this car was. If I had it to do over again, I don't know that I would have bought this car. If you've followed this series, you have seen the rocker panels. You know how bad they are. They were cut off. They were gone when I got the car. At the time, I did not realize that sheet metal was not available. Nobody sells it. I did find a guy, you've seen, if you followed the videos, that has made a few of the sections that I need. But he is not yet producing the other two pieces that I need of that forward sheet metal. So, I'm kind of in a crunch. The floor pans for this car are quite expensive. So I'm trying to adapt some that are very similar, but not exactly the same, from a 67 Mustang. I've done this kind of work on a 67 Mustang for a friend of mine, and that was all plug and play metal. It's all formed, it's all shaped, it's all bent, it's perfect. It matches the car perfectly. I've never done anything to this extent. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this kind of work. I'm having to learn and as I go. And I tried to make some pieces last week to replace this, and I'll just be honest with you, it kicked my butt. My hat is off to any of the sheet metal fabricators and repair guys. They make it look very easy, and if you're fabricating something to fit from scratch, it is not easy, especially with at-home tools. Fitzy's fabrication, he does a lot of that stuff, and he does it with all tools that you would have in your at-home shop. And I have watched a lot of his videos, and some of his stuff has kind of given me a direction to go. But I am, like I said, learning as I go. This is OJT, on-job training. I don't know how well it's going to turn out. I'm going to do my best. For what I'm going to do with this car, it is, it's probably going to be fine. This is going to be an old school hot rod. It's not going to be a glitzy, shining show car. I'm just trying to get it mechanically and structurally sound. It doesn't have to be as pretty as a 100-point show car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick walk around, and I'm going to show you several of the problems with this car. So let's go. All right, we'll start right here. This right here is the torque box, or what should I say, what's left of the torque box. It's what I actually cut off, this piece right here. See if I can get my camera on it. And that is part of the toe board and the inner fender well. It wraps around and is part of, from what I understand, the torque box. So let's step around here and let's go look inside. All right, so if you look right in here, you can see where I cut that out, and there, those are two pieces that come together and merge right there along this cut line right here. They merge right down here, from here and across to the floorboard support. The distance between those 2 points is not the same from the top to the bottom. So trying to get that piece of metal cut correctly to where it fits and where I can actually weld it in has not been easy. One of the other things, you can see that there in the bottom of that floor support, I had to cut all of that out because that was thin Swiss cheese metal. So I cut that out, and I'm going to repair it. I'm going to put a cap over it and weld it across the bottom. You can look back here, you can see this extension cord, what it looks like across the back. The problem is trying to figure out how much of the original metal to keep and how much to replace. So that is going to be the trick here. All right, so we can move around here. We're going to look at the driver's side, and as you can see, it's not really a whole lot better in some aspects, but with respects to the inner structure and the torque box on the driver's side is actually solid. So really only thing I have to do is patch a couple of places here. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to see what's up inside, and I'm going to cut a small hole in it that I can patch. Either that or make a flap. I hadn't decided what I'm going to do, but you can see there's some rusty places that need to be repaired. But I want to look up inside that torque box, and I want to make sure that there's not a bunch of rusty metal, and it is as solid as I think it is. So one of the other things I want to point out is, you see how this panel curves up right there? It has a curve in it. Trying to figure out how to put that curve and land that piece of sheet metal exactly like that on the passenger side has become the bane of my existence. I'm considering just running it straight across and then meeting these two panels together. I don't even know why it has that step up in it, other than maybe it's a place for the floorboard to rest right here in this spot, so that the outer floorboard has a place to rest when they're building the car. They can just throw, the pans are thrown in and it just lands there, and then they can weld them in place. Not sure why it was that way, but just know that it is. This floor support on this side seems from underneath, feels like it is in better condition than the passenger side was. There's one little small spot, rust hole right here on the bottom. We'll know more once I cut this away and I'm able to vacuum all this out and get this channel clean and be able to inspect it. All right, let's move to the rear floor pan behind the driver's seat. It's pretty thin right here. A lot of Swiss cheese. More Swiss cheese here. Where I'm going to buckle the seat belt, which was that was the factory spot right there, is gone all around it. So I have to reinforce that whole section right there in order that a seat belt would actually protect me in any kind of a crash. Somehow under the driver's seat, don't know if there was a mouse nest sitting right here at one time, but right up here on the high spot where no water can even sit is a hole. So that's got to be cut out and repaired. And if you haven't ever watched many of my videos and seen these quarter panels, this is pretty much what it looks like on both sides. And believe it or not, this inner metal is actually still here and actually in pretty good condition. Let's walk around to the other side and I'll show you that side. Same section, opposite side of the car. The inner fender well is pretty well rusted away, and the rocker panel is pretty well rusted out. What I found pretty interesting on this car is everything that is rotten or really bad on the passenger side is only slightly rusted and slightly damaged over on the driver's side. So I do have some reference points that I can go by. But like I said, if I had known if I had known then what I know now, I very likely would not have purchased this car. So my piece of advice to you is take somebody with you to look at the car, somebody who doesn't have a vested interest in the project, somebody who has a good eye for sheet metal and the kind of and what it's going to take to repair it. See, the thing is, I knew this stuff, but when I went and looked at this car, I think I had on that pair of rose-colored glasses, fell in love, and just had to have it. Buyer beware. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's jump right in and let's get going on figuring out this sheet metal.